In this video, I want to go over reading notes on the staff. This video is going to go along with Unit 3 in Fundamentals of Piano Theory. And it might be a little bit longer than normal, but I want to go over how I teach note reading on the staff. I go over 7 home notes, and if students can remember these 7 home notes, they'll be able to find any note anywhere on the staff. So here they are. One note is middle C. We call it middle C because it's in the middle of the staff, not the middle of the keyboard. Middle of the keyboard is actually a tie between E and F right here. But C is in the middle of the grand staff, so that's why we call it middle C. Two lines above the staff is high C. 2 lines below the staff is low C. So 3 of our 7 home notes are C's. Okay, this is the treble clef. Originally, it was notated with a G. So sometimes it's called G clef, but it is morphed into our treble clef today. So one of our 7 home notes is G clef G. Another name for bass clef is F clef. Originally, it was a fancy cursive F that morphed into our bass clef today. So F clef F is another one of our 7 home notes. The next 2 home notes are the hardest 2 home notes to remember. Top space E and bottom space A. So these are the 7 notes I use as guide notes or home notes. If I put both my thumbs on middle C and I count that as 1 and I go out 5, 2s, 3s, 4s, 5s, my left hand is playing F clef F and my right hand pinky is playing G clef G. Now if I pivot my fingers and put my thumbs under to the next white notes, 1s, 2s, 3s, 4s, 5s, my left hand pinky is playing bottom space A, my right hand pinky is playing top space E. If I pivot those pinkies, put my thumbs under to the next white notes and count out 5, 1s, 2s, 3s, 4s, 5s, my left hand pinky's playing low C and my right hand pinky's playing high C. So those are my 7 home notes. Low C, bottom space A, F clef F, middle C, G clef G, top space E, and high C. Now you might be wondering, why home notes? What do these notes have to do with reading the staff? I'll try to show you the best I can. So this is my lowest home note, low C. Low C is responsible for a step below, which is B, and a skip below, which is A. It's also responsible for a step above, which is D, and a skip above, which is E. So I'm going to mark my home notes on the screen with red here. And I'm going to mark my other notes with blue. My next home note is bottom space A. And bottom space A is responsible for the note a step below, which is G, and the note which is a skip below, which is F. Bottom space A is responsible for the note a step above, which is B. And the note which is a skip above, which is C. So this time I'm going to mark my home note with red again. And I'm going to mark the home notes it's responsible for in green. All right, my next home note is F clef F. And it is responsible for the note a step below, which is E. And a skip below, which is D. And F is responsible for the note a step above, which is G. And the note which is a skip above, which is A. So we got our F clef F home note. And it's responsible for those two notes and those two notes. All right, my next home note is middle C. Middle C is responsible for a step below, which is B, and a skip below, which is A. Middle C is also responsible for a step above, which is D, and a skip above, which is E. So I'm going to mark my home note with red here, middle C, responsible for a skip below, A, and a step below, B. So you'll notice that A has two home notes looking out for it. F clef F skip up or middle C skip down. And middle C is responsible for a step above D and a skip above E. My next home note is G clef G. G clef G is responsible for a step below, which is F. And G clef G is responsible for a skip below, which is E. G clef G is responsible for a step above, which is A. And a skip above, which is B. So I'm going to mark my home note, G clef G, here in red. And again, E has two home notes looking out for it. And then G is also responsible for those two, A and B. My next home note is top space E, which is responsible for the note a step below, which is D. And top space E is responsible for a skip below, which is C. E is responsible for a step above, which is F. And a skip above, which is G. So I'm going to mark my home note there, top space E. And I'm going to mark the two notes that it's responsible for below and the two notes it's responsible for above. My next home note is high C. High C is responsible for a step below, which is B. And C is responsible for a skip below, which is A. High C is responsible for the step above, which is D. And a skip above, which is E. So here's my home note. Home note high C, responsible for the two notes below it and the two notes above it. So as you can see here, most of the keys on the piano keyboard are accounted for using those home notes. And it takes up a good portion of the staff. Every note on the staff plus ledger lines is accounted for. So that's why I use home notes. Some of you might know some of those cute little sayings for notes like all cows eat grass or all cars eat gas. But that doesn't really help you when your note is there. You might have a note up here, and you might say, every good boy deserves fudge. Oh, fudge, what comes next? See, fudge. F, G, A, B, C, D, E. That's a lot slower than high C, skip up, and I get an E. So think of these 7 home notes as rest stops along our highway of notes. Low C, bottom space A, F clef F, middle C, G clef G, top space E, high C. Any note on the grand staff is either a step or a skip away from one of these 7 home notes. Let's quiz you really quick. What's the closest home note to that note right there? Top space E, skip down, so skipping D, and I get C. E, skip D, and I get C. Let's do another one. Closest home note to that note, what is it? Bottom space A, skip down, and I get F. Closest home note to that note, G clef G, step up, and I get A. Let's throw you a curveball. Closest home note to that note right there. You could say middle C, skip up, and I get E. You could also say G clef G, skip down, and I get E. Either way, you would be right, and you'd come up with the same answer. So those are my 7 home notes. Hopefully you'll be able to memorize them and that they can help you in reading the notes on the staff. So let's hop back over to the Fundamentals of Piano Theory book, Unit 3. Real quick before we get to the Fundamentals of Piano Theory, Unit 3, I want you to know that I have a handout available for home notes and home notes with the keys so you can see where the home notes fall on the piano keyboard. These are available in the File section on Canvas on the left. Okay, here we are in Unit 3, talking about the treble clef line notes. As you can see, we have the musical alphabet in skips there, C, E, G, B, D, F. Okay. They want you to name these notes here. This one's a home note. That one's a home note. Top space E, step down to get that one. Middle C, skip up. Or G clef G, skip down to get that one. Top space E, step up. G clef G, skip up. Okay, and then in number 2, they want us to draw treble clef line notes. Did you know that every other note of a letter name switches from a line note to a space note? So on these ones, there's really only one possible answer for most of them. So these should all be line notes with the line going through the note head. Okay, now we have treble clef space notes. They gave you middle C to reference, and then we have a skip in our musical alphabet, D, F, A, C, E, G. And they want us to name the treble clef space notes. Middle C, step up, and we get top space E, skip down, and we get G clef G, step up, and we get top space E, skip up, and the answer is, this is a home note, top space E, G clef G, step down, and we get, all right, in number 4, again, just like number 2, but this time we're drawing space notes. So again, there's only going to be one answer for most of those. This one's tricky. It's going to be off of the staff or above the staff, just resting on the staff. This one's going to be below the staff line. So that's page 4. Page 5, doing the same thing, this time in the bass clef. So don't forget your bass clef home notes. Bottom space A, step down. This one you could do F clef F, skip up, or you could do middle C, skip down. Closest home note to this one is F clef F. Skip down, line to a line is a skip. This is your home note, F clef F. Bottom space A space to a line is a step. Step up, and we get another home note here, middle C. Okay, in number 6, we are drawing line notes in the bass clef. They want a G line note. Number 7, we're naming bass clef space notes. Bottom space A, skip up, and we get A, skip B, and our answer is middle C, step down, and we get, this is your home note, bottom space A, F clef F, step up, and we get bottom space A, skip down, and we get F clef F, step down, and we get fill in the blanks. Okay. Part 8, question 8, we're drawing space notes. Use whole notes. There's our home note, bottom space A. Again, you're going to find that there's only going to be one answer for most of these. Some of these might be above the staff, resting on it, or below the staff. So watch out for that. Okay, naming notes on the grand staff, more of the same. Here's our musical alphabet written out and the corresponding keys on the piano. Bottom space A. F clef F, and so on and so forth. So continue to use your home notes. Top space E, skip down, and we get C. You know this one, it's a home note. F clef F, skip down, and we get, so just write the note names in the blanks. All right, page 13, we're specifically writing line notes on the grand staff, and they want half notes. So we need to write stems. Don't forget your line rule. If it's on the middle line or higher, the stem's going to go down on the left. We learned that stem rule back on page 6 right here. Notes on or above the third line have down stems on the left. Notes below the third line have up stems on the right. So don't get tricked on that part. All right, so if it's written right here, they want you to put it in the treble clef. If it's written here, they want you to write it in the bass clef below the staff. We're going to do the same thing for part 11 with space notes. So hopefully you've understood everything that I've presented in this video. I know it kind of went fast. It might take some of you a couple times to rewatch this video to understand what I'm saying. Also feel free to reach out on the discussion board or send me a personal message. Thank you. See you soon.